Welcome to Waiting on the Trade, a monthly comics book club for people who can't keep up with monthly comics. I'm Matt Ledger.
I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck.
And I'm Tyler Marifke.
This month we're talking about Hawkeye Little Hits, a Marvel comic by Matt Fraction, David Aja, and a bevy of other talented people. Do you need a refresher, Pat?
How long has it been, Pat, since you read this?
Literally 2 hours.
About an hour or so. No, it's less than that.
Well, Pat, in case you forgot, the last hour and a half, Little Hits is the volume of Hawkeye in which Clint Barton and Kate Bishop battle Hurricane Sandy, DVRs, and the Tracksuit Mafia. And this is the one where Pizza Dog solves a murder.
Pizza is his business.
It is his business. Before we get too far into this, Tyler, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Tyler Marifke. I've known you guys for how long? Years?
A very long time.
We went to high school together, so
Yeah, so a long time. We're all old men now, as you guys discussed in the last episode. I will say this, it's nice to be on like a nice professional production on the internet, unlike my crap Twitch channel, which is me like being bad at video games and getting drunk. So it's good to be with people who, are professional at this stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely not drinking a beer right now, that's for sure.
Nobody told me I could.
You definitely can.
Shit, I'll have to get one later. Anyway.
Can you tell us a little bit, first off, like how you came to comics, and then second off, like what made you want to talk about Hawkeye, and specifically Volume 2 of Hawkeye for your episode of the podcast? Yeah, so for the backstory of how I got into comics, it's kind of weird because it was back, because we can say this, back when the internet was invented, right? My dad was like part of like a book club, like mail order catalog that he could order books from. And there was one that was it was like a website encyclopedia of heroes and villains and stuff. And I had never read comics up to that point, but I bought it and I would just sit at the computer. And while everybody else was looking up, pictures of Carmen Electra and Pamela Anderson or whatever it is, or whoever your flavor of the month was, I was looking up backstories on heroes and villains without ever reading a comic.
The real hot stuff.
Yeah, the real good stuff on the internet.
I've done that. So two-thirds of this podcast has done that thing.
Yeah, right. And so that's what I did. And I just got fascinated with the characters. And then finally I started like seeking out comic book places and stuff because, like you guys know, there was nowhere around other than the little place in Janesville that we would hang out later on in life.
Good old Kryptonite.
Kryptonite Collectibles, shameless plug, to buy comics. So it was just kind of learning the characters. And finally back in high school we started playing Hero Clicks, and Matt, you decided, hey, you have Hero Clicks, let's go to this comic shop. And I bought a Ghost Rider comic. I never looked back.
I'm very excited that you've given me a chance to link to like what is Hero Clicks in the show notes for the podcast, because I'm gonna go like super deep on that one, by the way.
He's been waiting.
Been years of podcasting and we haven't gotten linked to Hero Clicks.
It's weird how it didn't come up in the Battlestar Bros podcast.
I know, right? Strange. Couldn't force it in there.
So, Tyler, you would say you're a Marvel fanboy over anything else?
100%. Yeah, it's and I'm not even ashamed to say it. I will say that the like DC cartoons back in the day, like Batman and Superman, were pretty good. But definitely my first intro was Spider-Man, the animated series, into the comic book world, and of course the 90s X-Men. Who didn't like that show? So that was kind of after I stopped watching those, started going on the internet with that book and finding out about these characters that I knew nothing about at the time, and got into them that way. But I got hooked on Marvel and 100% have never deviated. Probably to an annoyance of some degree to Matt and you.
Oh man, I love it. I love when people just like what they like, to the point where when we had asked you, hey Tyler, do you want to come on and do an episode with us? I thought for sure we were going to read some Jason Aaron stuff, and specifically Ghost Rider.
You had a very good guess.
I was really surprised that you chose Hawkeye, and also like very elated because it's one of my favorite Marvel books. I guess like what made you want to choose Hawkeye instead of like some of the other stuff that I know? Because like you're a big Ghost Rider guy, you're a Deadpool guy too, right?
Yeah, I was. I finally saw the movie. By the way, I didn't see it until like a week
Either
ago.
one or the second one?
The first one.
What? Have you not seen the
Yeah.
second one?
No, I haven't.
Tyler, come on.
I know.
What did you
I
think of
didn't
the
even
first
see
one?
all of the first one. I fell asleep halfway through.
No.
Yeah.
Was that
I'm a
because you watched
disappointment.
it very late or it wasn't good?
I watched it very late, and it was very. I was very inebriated. It was after a birthday celebration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you guys discussed turning 30, and I did that. So I had to. I had to drink my sorrows away. No, yeah, big Ghost Rider guy. I like Doctor Strange. I really got into him recently when Jason Aaron, of course, started doing that, and Thor. Basically, anything Jason Aaron touches, I kind of fall in love with. But this Hawkeye comic, now this is something special. I picked little hits, and we were talking just before we started this. It's like the opposite of what every big time comic tries to be. It grounds itself so much that you could see it almost happening. And that's what makes Hawkeye like awesome, in my opinion, as a hero. He's definitely jumped up my tier list of like heroes that I like. Yep, you're in my top 5 for sure. Just because he is always outclassed, he's always outpowered, he's always the low man on the totem pole, yet always stands up for what's right and to the bad guy. And I think this collection, not even the first collection of the comic books, the second, kind of shows that in a way better light than I think the first 8 or the first 6 comics, or first 5, I should say, that are in the first trade don't do as well as this little collection does. So that's why I went with this one, if that makes any kind of sense.
No, it totally does. Honestly, because like when I was writing my notes up the other night, I was thinking about how Volume 2 is really sort of the instigating point for the story as a whole that goes forward into like Volume 3 and Volume 4. And there's a lot of stuff in here that is both paying off from stuff in Volume 1, but is really setting up 3 and 4 in a really cool way. And it starts that sort of cascading chain of you get to see the same scene from different angles in like 3 or 4 different issues. So that's pretty cool. I like that in this volume a lot. So I think that makes sense that this volume would be the volume you want to talk about, because you can't talk about Volume 4 without talking about the other ones for sure. And Volume 1 is maybe a little less interesting than Volume 2. And Volume 3, if you're a Clint guy, it's a Kate volume, so you don't want to talk about that one, even though Kate is the best Hawkeye, and I will fight that battle all day.
Ooh, that's a special off-air episode we'll have to argue about.
the BOCO, the bonus content.
Yeah, bonus content for later this month or whatever.
It's actually really timely that we're doing this. I don't know if you saw, Tyler, that like on the Disney Plus streaming service, they're going to do a Hawkeye show apparently.
Yeah, and it's based around Clint training Kate Bishop. So
it seems like they should just take these comics and make them into TV. So I'm not sure how you do that, because these comics are specifically comics in a really interesting and weird way that I don't think would translate completely well, but I'm willing to let them give it a shot.
Yeah. Take the ball and run with it if they can, but you're right. It is uniquely paneled out in the way that there's not a lot of dialogue in some of these, and it still tells the story very, very well.
So, I mean, there's zero dialogue in the Pizza Dog issue, right? There's dialogue with squiggles and like 1 or 2 words in each balloon.
Yeah, and there's that, and like I said in one of my notes here, and Pat, feel free to chime in at any point in time here.
No, I'm having fun listening.
Is the issue number 6, which is the second issue in this, which is something we can talk about later.
This series is so bonkers in that respect.
It's nuts. They do it day by day, right? 6 days in the life of Hawkeye, and it's dated December 15th, and it's right when Kate is yelling at him and giving him the bow and arrow back after he tries to quit essentially and move away, so the tracksuit mafia doesn't go after this. And she like yells at him, and it's just him sitting at his counter, thinking about it, watching the clock. And it's like 6 or 7 panels where there's nothing said, and you can just see him go from being like, I'm done, I'm defeated, to okay, maybe she has a point to him standing in front of his apartment building with the bow, and it's just the whole page. That's the money shot right there. Like, because it's like the perfect Clint Barton story. It's, shit, I'm down, I'm beaten, I can't do anything about it, I'm just a dude with a bow and arrow. But God damn it, people are depending on me, so I'm standing back up and I'm going to fight these people. And it's that scene of him standing in front of his apartment should be what people put as posters in their bedroom. I don't care.
I was actually
It's awesome.
considering that, honestly, when I was looking at it the other night. I was like, oh, that'd be a sweet poster.
I might just have to like find somebody on Etsy to make that shit for me.
But then, do you also get a poster of the same page that is Pizza Dog standing outside the apartment in issue 11? Because it's the exact same setup, but it's just Pizza Dog instead of Hawkeye.
Yeah. No, you do, because I love that they did that, because it was such a great
callback, right?
Yeah, it was a good callback. Yeah, I would put those side by side.
So, Pat, I'm curious, as the only one of us who had not read this before, how you found it. And you read Volume 1 and Volume 2, you're telling me, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. How did you like Hawkeye?
I enjoyed it. I knew, like, Hawkeye that I know comes from the movies. That's the only Hawkeye that I've ever known. I didn't even realize that Hawkeye had his own comic book series. Like, it would make sense, right? But it didn't occur to me.
He doesn't always.
Right?
One of those guys that
often
floats in and out of having his own series.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad that they, in the first issue, they had, like, some retro shots of what Hawkeye looked like in, like, old Avenger costumes. It's like, oh, yeah, that's what Hawkeye was.
Well, the old pointy ear.
Yeah, the green. Yeah.
In the first volume, it has that sweet scene where he's like leaping out of bed and his junk is covered up with a
old
school
face.
Hawkeye face, right?
The Hawkeye censorship. Yeah, that's amazing. The first edition really does have some of the best like pictures and lines that like because boomerangs is my favorite.
Oh my god,
line in the whole thing. And I even have a shirt that says that. And like, it's too bad that they didn't use that later, because they do a lot of callback jokes from the first one in the second.
It comes up in Volume 4.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
That's true, it does.
It definitely comes back in Volume 4.
I would say that Volume 1 has a lot more action in it than Volume 2, but I think most of like the heart and like there's not as much character development in 1 as there is in Volume 2.
One's very much setting up, okay, this is Hawkeye, this is Kate, this is kind of roughly what they're doing and who they're up against in this series. And then 2 is sort of a development of, hey, this is what this story is actually going to be from here, which I think is kind of what you were saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and one also feels way more comic booky. The first 2 kind of sell a story, and then the next like 3 issues tell a story. Like, it's not, I think, little hits, it's all those, whatever it is, 6 through 11, all just tell that singular story. Mm-hmm. Where the first, My Life is a Weapon, that trade, if we want to break it down that way, definitely is like, here's hero of the villain of the day and villain of the week, and then you can see it kind of start stacking, and then it all comes to a head in little hits.
But yeah, you're saying that like plot points, obviously the clown, I assume, is like the big bad guy moving forward after this.
Yeah, except for Volume 3. So at the end of this volume, right, at the end of the Pizza Dog issue, Kate leaves for LA.
California, yeah.
So the way, and this kind of gets into the fact that Hawkeye's issue structure is just super weird. The way it lines up from there in the monthly issues, which Tyler, you actually bought, right?
Yeah.
Is like each alternating issue is a Kate issue and then a Clint issue and then a Kate issue and then a Clint issue. And Kate's just out in LA doing her own thing. And that's what Volume 3 is, because they collected all those Kate issues as one volume. And then Volume 4 is you continue Clint's story and eventually Kate kind of dovetails back into it, which I don't think is really a spoiler. Like, she's going to come back.
Yeah, and really, when this was on store shelves and, at your local comic book shop, that was what I think killed this comic more than anything, because it was nominated for tons of awards.
I think the Pizza Dog issue won an Eisner, actually, which is the Oscars of comics.
Yeah, and what killed it though, and you actually get confused right away in this trade, because book 7 starts it, book 6 follows, and then they switched to the Kate Bishop LA Woman story, and the Christmas special was in April the next year, and it was just because it kept getting delayed, and it wasn't out monthly. Like, it took for a couple episodes or a couple issues months before they would show up, and it was Marvel saying, hey, we got to cut back. It was a really strange time at Marvel because they were doing another relaunch and they didn't know what they wanted to do with it because it was working, and it killed it in the long run, I think, more than story ever did.
Yeah.
The format of it was confusing for me. Like, it's hyper stylized, right? Like, the art choices they make in this book is ridiculous. And it's so fascinating to look at because they do crazy things with panel structure, but also color and like Aja's thick lines that he does around the characters and like the minimal details that he does. It's really, really intriguing. But at the same time, the style is confusing for certain pages and like trying to follow story points. I had a little difficulty trying to figure out what was going on.
Do you think it's the style that's confusing to you, or do you think it's Matt Fraction's like weird jumps through time that happen throughout the book?
It's definitely, the jumps don't help at all, but combining that with also like a non-standard page layout and like it's hard to focus on what's happening and like, oh, this is that point from before. Oh, and it's from a different perspective this time. It's just like, it's cool, but you really got to be on the ball to understand what's going on.
Yeah, you really do. To the point where I think I got the most out of it on I probably got the most out of it on my last read. But like the second time I read it, I definitely feel like I got more out of it than I did the first time.
Yeah, I really got the sense that I'm going to have to reread these.
Yeah, definitely rereading it this time around, not, live. I could see where the jumping around would be very tough to follow, but because I had read it before, you know what you're kind of looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's been years since I read it, but that is one of the biggest drawbacks, in my opinion, to it, is the way that it's not. I wouldn't say it's the art so much as it is fractions kind of jumping around.
Sure.
But you have to pay attention.
Yeah, and it's also like a collection of vignettes as opposed to a through line like you see in most other comics. It's just like episodic stories of the day in the life of Clint Barton, which is fun, but it's different. So like they go from helping grill with his father during the hurricane to setting up his DVR and Christmas to like, it's different things. It's the same characters, but they're like, you gotta actually search for the through lines there.
Yeah, to the point where one of the questions in our discussion guide is like, what themes did you find in this story? And I think the fact that it's a quarter of a 24-issue story makes it tough for us to actually pull themes out of it, and B, the fact that it is a lot of little stories within one volume makes it tough to pull overall themes out of it too, which I think there definitely are some, but I think they definitely become more apparent when you get the whole picture too. So,
well, I definitely get the sense that it's Clint trying to figure out if he's a good person outside of being an Avenger.
Yeah,
can
definitely
he be a good guy?
Yeah.
Without being an Avenger, can he be a good man?
Well, especially because, and here's some comic book backstory for you, Pat, which I think Tyler will probably already know. Clint was a villain initially too. He was a Iron Man villain initially.
Yeah,
well, he was a ninja, right? Like I read the first volume in back issue.
No, not yet. He was, but not right away.
Yeah, that's okay. So here's your quick Clint Barton chronology. So Iron Man villain, from Iron Man villain to Avenger, Avenger for a very long time. Married to Mockingbird, who's in this. She's the blonde lady with the blue and white dress,
right?
Who comes over and serves him
divorce. The ex-wife, as she's called. Yeah. That scene right there is awesome.
Calling Black Widow the work wife made me laugh.
It was really good.
I also like the Katie, which
Katie
comes
Kate.
back later too. Katie Kate, but how it kind of foreshadows that when they introduce her in that.
So leads the West Coast Avengers for a bit. Mockingbird, quote unquote, dies. She gets better. He comes back, is an Avenger. He dies. he gets better.
It's comics.
After he gets better is when he's a ninja in that backup story you read in volume 1.
And it's during the time where he's dead that Katie becomes Hawkeye. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, because there is no Hawkeye at that point, so she becomes Hawkeye.
And if I remember right, that was during Civil War. Because I don't think Barton was around for Civil War.
It's a little bit before that, I think, because I think the Young Avengers exist before Civil War. But she's definitely in those Civil War issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only background I had for that is the very last issue of Volume 1 is a completely different art style, and it tells the story of Katie as part of the Young Avengers. I don't know. I recognized maybe 2 of them.
Yeah.
And getting her bow, like stealing her bow back from Hawkeye, who took her the bow, or something like that.
Well, it was his bow.
Right. Because Cap gave Katie the bow when Clint, quote unquote, died.
Yeah.
And Clint took it back, and then she stole it back.
When really he's running around, which, by the time this episode airs, will probably be in Avengers.
And I was going to say, people will know what Ronin is by the time we
they'll know all about Ronin.
Oh, is that his name when he's a ninja?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it was him starting out as a bad guy. I think if you know that, don't call me an Avenger, don't, I'm not a good guy, all this kind of stuff, that I think still lingers in his mind. And you kind of see that.
Yeah, where when he's not around these people who, in this comic are sort of represented by his wives, quote unquote, his significant others and girlfriends and ex-wife and all that. What kind of person is he on his own? And it's sort of a mess. He's sort of a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got Black Widow and then Canary, is what you said?
Mockingbird.
His ex-wife?
Mockingbird.
I'm sorry, DC, my bad.
How dare you?
Blonde, bird-related hero. I'm confused. Who was the other woman who was upset that he was having sex with another woman?
That is, it's Spider-Woman.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, who they are dating at the time, I believe, which is why she's upset.
Can't imagine why she'd be so mad about that.
Right.
There's so many characters in that one issue, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to read this and I'm just going to go with it because I can't follow who these people are.
I kind of love that they're not actually introduced as superheroes, but that's as a person who knows who they are too, because it's the book where Clint Barton isn't an Avenger, right? So he's not thinking about them as Black Widow, Mockingbird, Spider-Woman. He's thinking about them as his partner, his ex-wife, and his girlfriend? Question mark.
Friend girl.
Friend girl. Yeah.
I also like that how it opens up, and they've obviously been playing a card game because they've got cards stuck on their foreheads.
Yeah.
Yes.
During the introduction, and they're just it clues you in when it starts going back from Katie's perspective, because there again they have the cards back on there. It's like, okay, this is the beginning because they have cards on their head.
I do like in that following issue when it does focus on each one of them trying to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
When they break into Kate's apartment and she's confused, did you guys just come in here or whatever? And they're all like, all right, what's going on with Clint? And the next thing is her rushing to Clint's apartment and
try to get there before them.
Yeah, but you have no idea it's to get there before they get there. You think, oh man, the Russian mafia must be over there, the tracksuit mafia, whatever you want to call them. And then it turns out, nope, she just couldn't beat Spider-Woman. And shit's about to go down. So that I really liked as a kind of subtle twist. Oh, this big action sequence where she's fighting off these guys and I got to get to them. Damn it. It wasn't even them we're worried about.
Right? Just don't want them to go get slapped.
Yeah.
That had my favorite line where she's apologizing to Clint, I'm sorry, they Avengered it out of me.
Yeah.
They use the whole Kitty, you're an Avenger. You need to tell us this.
Yeah, are you an Avenger or are you not?
Yes.
The bit I love from the beginning of that issue is when Mockingbird plays the message on his answering machine and you don't know who it is, and then later you find out it's Kate just sassing him as she's driving around on her moped.
Yeah, trying to get there before Spider-Woman can get there.
Yeah.
And he already just got
that what that
voice.
was? Because I thought that Spider-Woman was making fun of him having an answering machine, but that was Katie.
No,
on
it was
the
Kate.
answering
You
machine.
see Kate calling him. She's like, "Was that an actual answering machine? Who still has an answering machine?"
Yeah.
And so, in the earlier thing when Bobby.
I
plays
thought they
it.
were both just making fun of him for having an answering machine. But
No,
that makes
it's
more sense
more
that
of
it's a
those cuts back and
recording.
forward in time.
Yeah, it goes right back to the keeping up with how the jumps in time, because that very much was an unintentional foreshadow, I guess. Well, probably very intentional. I don't
No,
write
it's
comics.
definitely intentional. Like,
Yeah.
so I told you guys this morning I was rereading this Matt Fraction interview I'd found a couple weeks ago, which is it was him and Kelly Sue DeConnick, and they were being interviewed by Susanna Polo at Polygon, and she was interviewing them about like what it's like to be a husband-wife writing team, especially when both of these Marvel characters they've worked on are like basically in the spotlight because Kelly Sue's done a ton of Captain Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say she put Captain Marvel on the map again.
Yeah, the fact that there's a movie is basically Kelly Sue.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Matt Fraction was talking about how when he writes, he basically starts with the edits. Like he starts with like what cuts he's gonna make, and that's so bizarre to me as a person who writes things sometimes. Like he's like, I have these moments, and I know that I want these moments to happen, so I just have to figure out how to like match them up so that they work alongside each other, and then go from there. And this comic especially feels like him playing with that to the 10th degree or whatever, because he's got an entire story built for this Clinton. Oh God, I'm blanking on her name right now. Candy?
No, Penny.
Is it Penny? I thought it was Candy.
Well, he calls her Penny, but then
Oh, I think it was Penelope. Yeah, so it probably is Penny. But there's a version of those two issues that's like just straightforward. Here's the story. Here's a cliffhanger at the end of part 1. Here's the end in part 2. And instead, what we get is here's the start. Here's Clint and Penelope's bit leading up to Natasha and everyone coming in. And then here's Natasha and everyone else's bit in issue 2. And that issue cuts back and forth in time to the point where Jessica actually goes there before Bobby goes there. In that issue, even though you see Jessica second. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like I got the gist of it, but yeah, I was definitely not actually trying. Like I couldn't follow the chronological order of things.
Yeah,
it's too much.
It's definitely Matt Fraction messing around with that to the nth degree, which is super cool, but also on a first read may not work out exactly. It sounds like
it was a bit tough.
Well, and he does it too with the murder, the Yes. Like half the reason I picked this too. I didn't even go into this.
Poor Grill.
With Grills. Oh my gosh. I remember reading that when I got it live, and I legitimately was shocked. Like I couldn't believe it. And them going back to that 3 different times was just...
I said out loud, I was like, no, I liked Grills.
Yeah. No, Grills is great. And it's such a sad moment too. Like it's one of those moments in comics where you legitimately feel like something in the pit of your stomach the first time you see it. At least it did for me. I don't know. Maybe I have a soul or something. I don't know. But
I'm just thinking about how issue 7 wasn't even supposed to happen because it's totally a direct response to Hurricane Sandy that they rushed out to get out that month. And so the fact that you care about Girls is only because issue 7 happened, but it wasn't even supposed to happen.
Right. And, you might not have... Yeah, definitely the shock value wouldn't have been there. I mean, Grills is in a lot of the comics, but he's definitely a side character. But you're right, the fact that issue 7 made him a major player, kind of.
Yeah, like a real guy who you're kind of rooting for, right? To the point where when he shows up on the roof, you're like, oh yeah, Grills.
Yeah. And of course the Hawkeye versus Hawkeye conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean like the guy from MASH?
Yeah,
Hawkeye. Right. Hawkeye. Right. Close, yeah.
So many good bits in this comic.
There really is. But that part too, like the fact that it was that it's really sad too, is nobody calls him Gil, and he just wanted to be called Gil, and that's the one thing he thinks. Like he just helped out an Avenger with his own problems, and then he's left alone. Like looking at it from that point of view, it's one of the saddest moments in comics that I can recall that I've ever read.
Yeah, I would give you that, especially because the clown actually calls him Gil.
But and it goes back to that moment 3 or 4 times. So you knew that was a big moment for Fraction to kind of focus on, and the way he wrote around it 3 different ways. You can see where that's his style.
No, Tyler, have you read any other Matt Fraction comics?
I haven't. I should.
Yeah, I read his Invincible Iron Man, and I read a few issues of Sex Criminals. And it's been so long since I've read either of them that I don't recall if he's done crazy chronological time jumps. I don't
Sex
think
Criminals
he did.
does some experimental stuff. I don't know if I remember. Well, I think there's a little bit of cutting back and forth in time, but don't quote me on that.
Sure.
Oh, you're
But like
quoting.
Iron Man is just straightforward superhero stuff. It's not as experimental as this for sure.
I enjoyed Iron Man, but I don't recall any like uniquely interesting like bits to it. It was fun. It was well written.
Well, both of them came up as you should read these on Kindle, so
There you go.
probably have to do that.
From what I remember, his Iron Man's pretty great. And of the issues I read of Sex Criminals, it's also pretty fun. So
Sex Criminals might be my current favorite comic series, actually.
really,
Yeah,
I should get back into it, I guess.
it's pretty good. We talked about the Darlene Penelope Wright story a lot, so I think we're okay on that one. Although my favorite bit of that is definitely when Clint comes over and is like, he hangs out with me, and then gives Hawkeye or gives Clint the like shoulder punch and is like, bitches.
Oh, you're talking about Bishop.
When Kate comes over?
Yeah, you said
when
Clint
Kate comes over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, when Kate comes over and she's like telling,
Don't hang out with him.
I don't hang out with him. He hangs out
hangs
with me. It's my favorite
And
line.
then, of course, she's like, don't get me wrong. You cheated on her. That's like bad boyfriend 101. Like, then starts telling him what's up.
Yeah, but like does tell him he is a good guy, which I think is the thing in here is Clint trying to figure out if he's a good guy and if he can get his own shit together.
Can you clear? I'm jumping forward towards the very end of this, especially didn't quite follow it during the pizza dog issue. But is Clint in love with Katie? Is Katie
No.
the one that he wants to tell that he has feelings for?
So here's the deal. I don't know who they're talking about in that scene where he's talking to girls and is like, I'm going to write her a letter. Because
I'm pretty sure it's Katie because they bring it back up.
By the end of it, I think it's Kate because it even kind of references it a little bit in the first series.
Yeah, she says, and he says something about, I don't want to sleep with you. And there's a scene where Katie's like repeating that to herself and calls him an idiot or something like that.
he's definitely not in love with her. I will tell you that.
Spoilers.
I mean, whatever. I think that'd be kind of weird and gross, so I'm going to go out of my way to
I don't
spoil
know. At the end of volume 2, I would say he is. So
the chronology for him to be talking about Kate doesn't match up because they're doing their shooting scene and he yells, what? And then in issue 11, that same scene happens, which you can tell because it starts with a very like zoomed in bit of that balloon that says what from Pizza Dog's perspective. And then Pizza Dog goes upstairs and finds Gil already murdered. So I'm pretty sure he's talking about Spider-Woman, and that the cut from the end, from him talking to Kate at the end of 10 to Gil getting murdered, is a cut backwards in time again.
why, Matt Fraction?
I don't know.
Wow.
That one confused. That's the one that I actually had a question about, where the like low points thing, I was like, I still don't really know who Clint was talking about when he was talking to Gil.
Yeah, come to think of it, when you point that out, you're right. But does Pizza Dog go up there right away? I know he leaves.
Yeah, he leaves the apartment, and then the next page, he's like going past the apartments, and he notices Gil isn't in there because it's Gil with the cross out sign and then the question mark, and then he goes right upstairs and finds the body. So it's definitely right after they fight, Pizza Dog goes upstairs.
It's a cute issue. It didn't help me clarify anything.
I don't think it's supposed to, honestly. I think it's supposed to confuse you more, sort of.
Well, job well done, Mr. Fraction.
Do we want to talk about that one? Because I think the three we still need to talk about are the Hurricane Sandy one, the one that's by Francesco Francavilla, which is the issue
clown
10
one.
Yeah, the clown backstory one, and we need to talk about the Pizza Dog one.
All right, well, let's start at the very beginning.
Oh, we also haven't actually talked about the Christmas one that much, though we did a little bit.
We mentioned it, yeah.
So we want to start at the beginning?
Let's just start at the beginning. Let's go.
All right, Hurricane Sandy one, which is issue 7.
Now, is the artist the same for both?
No, it's
okay.
Nope, it's Steve Lieber on the first half, and I think it's Jesse Hamm on the second half.
Yeah, it's two different people, and you can tell.
Yeah, like, for sure.
It's not a clean cut, in my opinion.
I mean, which is again a product of the fact that when Hurricane Sandy was coming towards the East Coast, they kind of just like rushed to get this issue out, and I think they donated some proceeds from it to the Red Cross too.
That's nice.
But the thing, like, Marvel Comics does this sometimes, especially when there's a thing that's going to affect New York or the New York area, where they put out an issue that's sort of a direct response to it. There's an amazing Spider-Man issue that came out like right after 9/11, which is very raw because it came out right after 9/11.
Yeah, and there's a Captain America one too that
There's an entire Captain America series that's like, I'm going to go fight terrorists because 9/11 happened.
Yeah, because it came out and everyone was like, he kills a guy. Like, he's that pissed off where he kills some dude.
Yeah.
And that never happened before.
Yeah, this is very much in that Marvel Comics responding to real life events sort of vein. In a much more restrained way than Captain America going to actually kill terrorists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the first half of it is Clint helping Grills pack up his father's basement because a hurricane is coming. And we get the relationship between Grills and his estranged father.
It was really good, and I'm pretty sure he's drinking a Mickey's, which you just don't see that a lot.
He is drinking a Mickey's. I was flipping
I'm pretty
back
sure it's
to
a
see if I
Mickey's.
could find it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the important stuff that we break down here on this show, is what beer was he drinking?
I mean, you gotta find the little stuff. I personally like the "I'm great at boats" callback instead of like a luxury yacht. It's a rowboat.
Yeah, I'm great at boats. And then like he's all happy about a boat, and then he gets in it, and he's got to row through a hurricane.
Well, there's also the callback to his car being like, car being
No.
swept away.
I do love the running jokes through all these, where it's always something like the coffee, no, and the tape, you suck, and you know, stuff like that.
Every issue starts with "This is bad." Or
this looks bad. Yeah,
this looks bad.
That stops eventually.
It does go away, which is too bad because it was always nice to see what looked bad. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
To talk about the first part real quick.
Yeah.
The one part where Grills is in the basement as it's starting to flood, and that's when Hawkeye doesn't realize he knows his name. That's where I think the shock and awe of Grills dying at the end, when all he says is it's Gil, and he says, "I don't want to learn your name at your funeral." Holy foreshadowing! A long time ahead. You know, like he realizes I don't even know who this person is, and you know he's the reason I can eat. They mentioned that somewhere. I think in the first.
Yeah, the only places he can eat is if he's with Grills or with the Avengers.
Yeah, and but that scene where he saves him and brings him up to upstairs, and there's that one panel of Clint just kind of half smiling, knowing that it was totally worth it to help these guys, and that kind of is the tone of this entire series. Is it's the little things that matter. It's not always the big.
Yeah. Oh god, that line where Grills is. I like how we're still calling him Grills, even though like the character's one motivation was not to be called Grills.
Yeah.
Anyways,
we're doing a terrible job.
Grills was fine. Grills wanted to save some items from his mom that was down in the basement, and he's bemoaning it, saying everything I had that was hers is gone. And then Clint says, "Well, maybe not everything," and it's his dad. I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah,
it hit me. It hit me, guys.
That panel of his dad sitting at the
just like
that's one of those gut punch scenes for sure.
Pat, can I entice you to stick with the series even though you may not like the juxtapositions? I've got some spoiler heat for you.
Are we doing spoilers? I don't know.
Well, I'm announcing it now so people can skip ahead if they want to.
Okay, spoilers.
But specifically for you, I think this might entice you to read more. Yeah.
Okay.
Gil's dad shows up later and he lives at the apartment and he grills things and it's great.
He's the new Grills.
Yeah.
He takes over the torch or the Kingsford spatulas and stuff like that.
That's good. I'm glad that happened. But yeah, even in this issue, part 1 is that, and part 2 like rewinds to before part 1 because it's Clint and Grills packing up to leave to Grills' father's place, and they're talking to Katie and saying, "Wow, you're
Kate's
really going to
who
New
bought
Jersey?"
shitty tape.
Yeah, it's all Kate's fault that the tape sucks, by the way. Mr. Kate's the best Hawkeye. She can't even handle tape.
Kate is the best Hawkeye. Let's have the fight.
No, we're doing it later. We're not doing it now.
I don't have a dog in this race, guys, so I really don't care.
Gosh.
You have a pizza dog, and you know it.
Oh my god, you're right. But yeah, what do you guys think about the second half? Katie almost does Hawkeye stuff, but then gets bashed in the head with beans, and some kindly like neighborhood people save her.
I mean, getting bashed in the head with beans is like par for the course for being a Hawkeye.
I was gonna say, yeah, I feel like that fits right in the mold.
I don't know. I like the message of that one, that it's about everyone coming together,
Pulling
and, like,
together.
even Jersey rules.
Yeah,
Jersey rules.
Jersey rules. That definitely was the poignant. We all pull together in times of need scene for sure. But what confused me, and I don't know if you guys would agree with this or not, is why she went in the first place. Like, I know she got invited, and I think she knew it was a bad idea, but so part of her history, she's super rich, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And she goes to all these swanky things. To me, it seems like she went there knowing that shit was going to hit the fan and was like, great, I got to go play hero. Where it's like the exact opposite of where Clint was like, I got to go fucking do this.
So this is the reason I love Kate, actually, is she's just like, oh, you're going to throw a bunch of shit my way? That's fine, I'll handle it. Like, I want to go to this party, and if bad things happen, that's fine. I'm Kate Bishop. I'm Hawkeye. I'm just going to make it work. Whereas Clint is very much like, I'll make it work, but man, I'm struggling here.
I think one of the most badass scenes that I read was in volume 1. It was the two-parter of the tape where Kate, like, spoilers, ties up Madame Mask and like
Impersonates
becomes
Madame
her.
Mask.
Yeah. And like digs through Clint's ass for a credit card. It's great.
Yeah, because Kate will just do whatever it takes to get the job done because she's the best.
That did have the funny line of, I can't unfeel some things, Clint.
Right.
That part was really funny. I actually forgot about that until I reread it.
If you want even more enticement to keep reading Pat, the LA bit with Kate is definitely mostly Madame Mask being pissed off at Kate.
Nice.
It is. It's a really good story arc for Madame Mask, in my opinion, because
actually, I think it's probably the most interesting thing I've read with her in it.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about her other than this, so she feels like an old Marvel villain.
Yeah,
that is accurate.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that is a Stan Lee name if ever you've heard one.
Yes.
Well, I think we talked about issue 7. Do we want to go back and talk about issue?
Let's
6?
go back in time to the next issue. Yeah,
what a bonkers series.
It really is. Yeah, that's 6 days in the life of Hawkeye.
This is the Christmas one?
Yeah, which also cuts backwards and forwards in time throughout the same issue to the point where, like...
This is the most confusing one, I think.
It really is, to the point where I just stopped worrying about it. I just didn't care anymore.
Yeah, it's not chronological. The dates aren't in order. They jump around. They're not even backwards order. They jump around.
Yeah, they are all over the place.
It's a ridiculous format to follow. And Matt, you were saying that the only beneficial thing is that nice cut from midnight to midnight?
Yeah, I do really like those midnight to midnight cuts, which there are a couple of them. And the first one I think is maybe even just there to set up the second one, honestly, because the first one's when he's bagged and they take him to go see the tracksuit mafia people, and the second one's the one that Tyler really likes, which is in the middle of that page where there's no dialogue and Clint's resolving to make his stand, basically. And he makes his stand basically exactly at midnight.
But no, it's a good juxtaposition because it's that Friday the 14th to the 15th one. I didn't even put that 2 and 2 together until about 10 seconds ago.
It's a really experimental comic, you guys. There's a lot going on.
I never even realized that, where it's him losing, going into midnight. It looks like he got more guys, and the reveal, the big bad, kind of one of them, and then the next one is him being like, "Screw this, I'm saving my apartment building," and then the kids show up, and everything is terrible. The one's wearing a Charlie Brown sweater. I never realized that until just now.
He also makes a wah 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 reference, doesn't he?
Kid mumble or whatever.
Kid mumble.
But yeah. Well, that's the recurring gag throughout the whole thing, where when you can't understand someone, it's just filled in with a parenthetical. It was what was it in the other one? It was Russian,
something French
Russian dialogue or something. Yeah.
Yeah, the Cirque du Soleil guy.
And then even on the wedding invitation of that.
Yes. Like the
It's
details
like,
are just like blah.
the details
blah.
are blah 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 dot dot dot.
Because why bother writing it if it doesn't need to be there?
But then they do in the first. I know we keep going back to it. They actually take the time though. In one of them, like all the titles are written in like a newspaper.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I think.
And they go over the whole thing, and then like what he's doing. He just bought an apartment building and all that. So that one they put great detail in. And then there's other times where like, fuck this.
Which again, I think in Hawkeye you could just feel Matt Fraction messing around with comics more so than definitely any other of his superhero stuff that I've read. Probably not as much as Sex Criminals, though. Like, especially given that it's a Marvel book, it's close.
Sure.
Yeah.
Before we go away from this issue, we didn't even talk about my favorite bits, which is where the other Avengers show up. It opens with Clint asking Tony Stark to help him set up his DVR because he doesn't know how to do it. And he's so frazzled that he just snips wires.
And Tony's reaction to it is just like, I would rather just buy you more stuff.
Just watch you try to untangle these things. It's probably new stuff. And then, like, after the Avengers defeat, who are the Wasp? Or, like, the...
that is AIM.
AIM? Oh, there we go.
They are the 99%. No, you're not. Shut up.
But, like, the interactions between Clint and Wolverine and Spider-Man are great because they're talking about, like, oh, did you see the series finale of Dog Cop? Like, shut up. Spoiler. I also love that whenever Spider-Man is delivering dialogue in this and the previous volume, he's upside down.
Yes.
He's always delivering it from, like, it's great. He's upside down at every frame.
If you were Spider-Man, why would you ever be not upside down?
I know, just like it's genius. Like, there's a
always
scene
be upside down.
in the first volume where he's playing video games with Luke Cage, but he's upside down
just, like,
playing the video game.
Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Can you imagine playing video games upside down?
I was impressed. I was like, wow.
I couldn't do it. I could barely play video games sitting upright.
That man must have superpowers to do that. But yeah, I enjoyed that Spider-Man delivers all of even his Happy Hanukkah is just him upside down waving.
Upside down.
It's great.
It is a really good issue in the sense that it's got a lot of happy parts. That's the same one with the Hawkeye versus Hawkeye debate.
Yeah.
It's also him taking blame for shooting the arrow into the satellite dish.
Yes.
And then it cuts back to the day he shot the arrow into the satellite.
The satellite dish, yeah. Which is also a pretty BA scene when he walks out of his apartment wearing a Santa hat, pulling an arrow out of a quiver. That's kind of cool. He's like, I was having a goddamn joyous Kwanzaa, and here you guys come along.
This looks unjoyous, he says.
Which is great. So, but what I was going to say was this isn't even the Christmas special. The Christmas special came out months later. And it's all shown through the Dog Cops episode that they're watching.
Really? Oh, my God.
There you go. Spoiler alert.
It basically cuts back to the scene where he's watching the Christmas specials with the kids, and it's the Christmas special.
Yeah. And it was like a big deal when it came out because I remember like looking at the Marvel solicitations and they were like, it's a Christmas special in April.
Yep. Because the book was super late by then.
Yeah, very, very late.
I guess quickly before we move off of it, Pat, would you say that like even if you didn't get the timeline right in it, each scene was good enough that it's kind of a story in and of itself?
I enjoyed it, but I think I would have enjoyed it more if I understood what was going on.
What was happening when?
Because, like, yeah, now, like, talking about it now and me realizing these things, it's cool. But you have to do so much work to get that.
It is a lot of work
on
read through. Yeah.
That's so much. And that's fine. Reread the thing to get more details is also fun, but still, I'm not convinced that a straight, like, A to B story wouldn't have been better.
Well, if you want that, that's what issue 8 is for.
Sort of, except it cuts back in issue 9 to tell the same story, but from different perspectives.
Good point.
8 and 9 are the Darlene Penelope Wright issues, which we talked about.
Yeah, those are all over the place, Tyler. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, no, the first one's
pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward. It's the Doomed Loved one, where it has the comic books, which I think this is cool, where they use the comic book covers to kind of explain her backstory a little bit.
Is it actually comic books written about her, or is it like, was that just like a meta thing that they just...
No, I think it's just a meta thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
They got Annie Wu to draw some romance covers.
Because she's pissed at him for reading the comic books because the order of the comic books was the safe.
Can I tell you that speaks to me on a personal level? I was writing my notes the other night, and I had written in my notes, "Don't touch my comic books," or whatever the actual line is. Speaks to me on a personal level. And Kat came into the room, was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm writing up my notes." And she was like, "I'm bored," and flung the comic book across the room, like right after I'd written that note. And I was like, "This is why this speaks to me."
Yeah, it's yeah. Don't read my comics. I think she says it a few times.
Yeah.
They were in a certain order, you know.
Yeah, which comes at the end. But yeah, this one's pretty much straightforward. It's I do like the fact that she's like having the super serious conversation, and then she goes, "Why do you keep moving away from me?" And he's like, I'm not. Like, no, what are you talking about? Because he realized how much trouble he's in now.
Also, that first issue has the scene where they're in the car and they're talking together, and you think they're just in a cab or something, and then it hard cuts to Kate saying they suck. And get out of her car.
Yeah, they're saying like really romantic. Like, I've seen you naked. Like, that's not even the best.
There's just like no context to the cut, and you're just like, oh my god, they're in Kate's car. What do they do?
God, you guys suck.
Yeah,
get out of my car.
Yeah, that's good. That is probably the best scene, but it's not the best line. The best line, I think, Matt, you probably will agree with me, is the "Are you Iron Fist?"
That is a pretty good one.
I know you're a fan of Danny Rand.
Yeah, and like these guys worked on Iron Fist together, so the fact that it's in a book by these guys is like a double joke.
I actually got that joke because my dad, who I told I was going to read this a few weeks ago, I'm reading his copies of it because he bought this, as well as Matt Fraction's Iron Fist. And when I said, "Oh, how are you liking Hawkeye?" It's like, I enjoyed it, but it's really bothering me how similar Hawkeye looks to Iron Fist. And like, so I had that in the back of my head, and like the third time that Clint gets frustrated with someone saying, "Oh, what are you, Iron Fist?"
Why does everybody keep saying that?
Oh my god, it's a meta comment on the fact that they draw them. It's great. I got it. It's like, thanks, Dad. I got that joke because of you.
It is a great running gag.
I do think while we're on these issues specifically, should mention that like Matt Hollingsworth's colors throughout the book are just super good because there's definitely a palette to each page and like each issue.
Yeah.
It's the muted tones that he uses too. They're not like vibrant. They're like all...
Yeah, because it's the stuff he does when he's not an Avenger, right? It's the non-comic book world stuff, even though his non-comic book world still has tracksuit mafias and the Kingpin and all that stuff.
Well, and you can really tell who's the center of the story at what point based on what colors are there. Like all the purple hues when it's Hawkeye's moments, and then when Darlene Penelope Wright kind of takes over, they all go red.
It's like a red,
all goes red. And there's those 2 pages at the back of issue 8 that are the mafia meeting, basically, and it's all black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of monochromatic stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
That really is, got me hooked on this comic too, back when it was, out every month. Because it's just at the same time I was reading Thor by Jason Aaron when he took over that, and it was the God Bomb or God Butcher and God Bomb. Spoiler alert, which that may or may not be on my list of things you should go read. It has nothing to do with this. It's just really good. It was so much more like out there, and Thor's time traveling, and there's like 4 different there's 3 different Thors, and they're in Asgard. And then there's this, they're in a strip club and everything's muted, and it's a guy wearing a Hawkeye themed hat punching a bouncer, like
I didn't even notice the hat. That's great.
Yeah. It's just two different worlds, and I was just like, gosh, this is really good back in the day, and it still stands out. The art just is amazing.
Yeah, and like at the same time, both those things fit within the Marvel Universe, which says a lot about how all-encompassing the Marvel Universe can be.
Make mine a Marvel.
All right, so now I think we should skip ahead, and we should talk about the
clown?
The Francesco Francavilla issue. Yeah, the clown issue.
I'm not a fan of the clown.
You're a fan of the clown?
I am not a fan of the clown, not just because it kills grills. Just the whole character didn't really do much for me. It's a very stereotypical traumatized kid grows up to be serial killer trope. And the clown thing is also sort of overplayed too.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, the
I'll give you
sad
that.
clown motif. Yeah,
I just feel like the art is so weird.
It's so bright compared to everything else.
Like it just doesn't fit with all the other stuff. Like even the Hurricane Sandy issue, like you can kind of see they picked similar-ish artists. So I wonder how they decided on bringing Francesco Francavilla in for this issue.
Well, like the paneling, everything else, there's stark white in between each of the panels, and there's color everywhere.
Yeah, there are pages that are just full. Like there are no panel
There's no
breaks
break
at all.
anywhere. It's color on top of color. It's a very different feel to the rest of the series.
it's almost too much of a different feel. Like it really does. It's jarring when you go through it, and
Which
maybe they
it's
meant
supposed
that.
to be.
Like,
Yeah, like maybe because it's from
Yeah.
his perspective for most of it. Because he's even looking out the window in that scene where Kate and Clint argue too. Like he's there.
yeah,
Yeah, and when they do go back to Kate or Clint's perspective, they do have white separating the panels, but not like everything bleeds together when it's the clown's perspective.
Yeah. So maybe it was on purpose. Yeah.
He's more like damaged and like he can't separate things as well as Clint and Katie, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. No, that could totally be it. I think my favorite scene in that issue is the page where he's walking away from Kate. The clown
Kate
is
says,
walking
you
away
don't
from
get to do
Kate.
that.
Well, he's being
Yes.
all Mr. Cool Guy, right? And you're like, oh man, he did the whole cool guy walk away. And Kate's just like, hey, no, this is my story. I'm Kate Bishop.
Hawkeye out. She walks away.
Gosh, she's the
But-
best.
First off, what I need to do is read this again and figure out how to be a cool guy and walk away to make this work in my favor.
Well, don't become a serial killer. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah, just
Don't do
other
that.
than that part.
On waiting on the
Yeah.
train, we heartily encourage you to not become a serial killer.
This is when you got to get lawyers involved, and there's going to be some legalese at the end of this saying, "Nowhere in waiting on the trade do we agree with the statements made by Mr. Marifke regarding." But what I was going to say with this one is the backstory. You're right, kind of sucks. It's just it doesn't even do a good job explaining what happened, other than the mafia got to him and he went to the circus, and then some people died, and now he's pissed off and he got really good at killing people.
Then he liked killing people, yeah.
And then the tracksuit mafia found him and hired him. Like, that's all it really does. And it, in my opinion, doesn't do a great job of really building up any kind of sympathy that the good villains get.
The weird thing about you're a New Yorker, if you can remember what New York was. It's like, what? What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
It was strange.
But then also the big great folly was the fact that Kate said, I'm Hawkeye. And like you can see in that when she says Hawkeye out, that next panel, it's like he's like, yep, got him. Like now he knows.
I think he already knows. It's not like the Hawkeyes make a secret about who they are.
Yeah, but I don't know if
They're very bad at
That's
it,
true.
actually.
that's true. I don't. It's just something about it. Like it seemed like he needed that info. Like that's how it comes across to me.
I think he needed to follow her to Clint because Clint, like, remember when he wrote down his address? It wasn't actually like this is an address in Chicago. So like he wasn't giving the information away. So I think he needed to follow Katie to Clint.
Well, and that's gets a little bit more what I mean, because the next scene it's him sitting in the car and he's putting on the makeup and watches Kate go into the apartment, and then shit hits the fan, and then Grills dies again.
Because when you have trauma, what do? You dress up as a clown. As someone who started with the Crow, I can say these things. There are other tropes, comic book writers. You can do it, and I believe in you.
I did kind of appreciate getting to see another artist completely redo that scene, like from their perspective, where the angles are so much more dramatic and the lighting is so much more dramatic in the Francavilla version than the David Aja version, the Gil murder scene.
You're right. It is way more hardcore.
I don't even know if it's more hardcore, but like it's definitely more
Stylized.
dramatic, I think too. Yeah.
It's like Sin City-esque. With like the blood splash and the glasses.
Yeah, and the really dark blacks.
Yeah. Like the artist signed that panel. That's how much he liked it.
Oh, I mean that's a page you sell for sure.
Yeah, that one right there. But I did have this as like one of the big low points of this. Like if this was all you were going to read, or if this is what you got and you were very confused by it, this is kind of one of the low points. It's not a bad issue per se, but it definitely is the lowest point of the
I would agree.
of the whole paperback.
The only other thing you get out of it, I think, and I just noticed this the other night, so that's probably read 4, so
Sure.
it took a while, is that he's encouraging Kate to leave. Like he's telling her, hey, you can do your work wherever, right? You don't have to do it here. And then she leaves in the next issue, which sort of tears her away from Clint to weaken him for the tracksuits. But yeah, I would agree overall with what Tyler said, that it's probably the weakest issue of this bunch.
We are in agreement.
Huzzah!
I concur.
All right. Do you want to talk about how pizza is our business now?
Oh yeah. Well, we have to now.
He understands some words, but not all words.
He understands dog words, basically, right?
Yeah, like
he understands,
names,
like don't, bad, Kate.
help. Yeah, it's great. Low, up, you. And yeah, just like deciphering the like symbols and what that means to him. Like Kate obviously like feeds him pizza. She
Okay, so
smells like flowers.
on that topic, Pat, if you flip ahead to where Pizza Dog is like barking at the tracksuit guys for the first time,
Yeah.
there's a hobo there, right?
Yeah.
Do you know who the hobo is?
Is it Iron Fist?
It's not.
No, but that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's got a picture of the hobo, and it's like, it's not Clint, so who is it?
It's
No, I don't
somewhat equal to Clint, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You would not have known that's a somewhat equal sign unless you have studied algebra recently.
Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
I remember things.
No, none of it stuck.
But yeah, so that's Clint's brother.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So like you get hints at things throughout this issue, and I think this issue is a weird hinge point for the entire story, to where things are getting set up and there are details in this issue that you're not supposed to quite get yet that
That's
pay
fair.
off in volume 4 mostly, but also a little bit of volume 3. And they're just spread throughout these weird infographics and these weird moments in the day in the life of Pizza Dog. Because there's another bit which I didn't understand for forever too, where Pizza Dog attacks the tracksuits and the clown on the roof, right? And like gets knocked out basically. And he wakes up and he's in that same apartment he was in earlier, and the clown is there, and you're like, what?
Oh, with the woman with the Kalashnikov, like,
Yeah,
submachine gun necklace on.
Yeah,
and you're
which
like,
is
okay,
a very, very nice piece. I mean, she probably got it off of QVC.
Right.
well, it's just like at that point, I'm not sure how much as a reader you're supposed to assume, but like we kind of figure out, okay, this apartment that he's been like Pizza Dog was in earlier in the story, something's up because these mafia guys are in there now. So like, what's going on?
Well, that's also the owner of the dog that Pizza Dog like gets busy with earlier on.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the
So-
thing. You wanted some dog on dog action. This was the
There's-
comic for you.
It
You don't
tastefully
see
cuts
anything,
away.
but
It does tastefully cut away.
yeah,
It's fine.
But,
We get the cuddle scene after. It's-
yeah, get the cuddles. And I can't help but think that in a little bit of a Clint move, he realizes, oh crap, I didn't get rid of him, and I got to get out of here, kind of thing.
Sure.
That's the biggest thing I can decipher, because he's so happy to see Clint, and he just ran away from these guys who almost killed him, and then he's like, oh, I get the chance to leave with Kate. Yeah, see ya. I'm out of here.
You think that's what it is? That's why he left?
Could be.
I think he just left because Kate's better, personally.
If you look at the diagrams, there's a heart for Kate. There isn't a heart for Clint.
For Clint.
There's food. There's a hand, so he gets scratches from him. But Katie gives him pizza, so obviously that's where his true affection lies.
Right?
Yeah, but like the scene, the page prior, he's so happy to see Clint,
Sure.
and then the next scene he's like, yeah, screw this, I'm out of here. I can't think of any other reason other than he realized these people almost killed him. Clint saved him, and now he's like, all right, I gotta get out of here because they're still here. You know what I mean? Like it's weird that the dog decides,
To
I'm
leave,
gonna
yeah.
run away.
No, that's Like, that's an interesting viewpoint on it. I hadn't actually thought about it like that before, but it totally makes sense.
Well, also, I don't know if Lucky understood he's driving cross country. Like, Kate might take him out for
He
walks
was
or
just
something.
told to come on, and then he's like, "Wait, what? We're going to California?" He looks kind of worried at the end, honestly.
Yeah, it's like a confused look. It's like, wait, California, Route 60. What, Kate? Where are you taking me?
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I guess I didn't realize that look at the very end. And it's a very interesting comic. It definitely took 3 or 4 reads to kind of piece together what it was trying to do.
It's one of those things where you can like blow through it completely quickly because there's not that much dialogue. So if you're just looking at it, you can read it in like 2 minutes. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
is that what you did, Pat?
No, I took my time
Sure you did.
2.5 hours ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're like, oh shit, I gotta get online. Guess I'll skip the one with no words.
I got the gist.
Well, like, it rewards you to look at all the infographics because you see, like, the mother who came over with the 2 kids, like, her 2 kids in there, and then some candy and some toys and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. So you get to learn a lot about the neighbors in a really condensed amount of space, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, Pat, you're going to love this. Most of these conversations and scenes that happen from Pizza Dog's perspective happen again in Volume 4.
Fantastic. So I'm supposed to remember things. God, Math fraction Y.
And especially the argument he has with Kate, where Kate leaves at the end, happens.
I assume we're going to get
more.
that. Yeah, because we didn't actually understand why Kate wants to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, so that comes up again. To the point where I do kind of consider this the hinge issue of the entire run, where a lot of stuff changes and you don't entirely know why and in what order. But it all comes around and makes sense by the time you get to the end of it, I swear.
It really does.
All right. I mean, I'm not discouraged to continue. I still have an interest. It's just...
Well, that's my question for you, I think, at this point, because I think we've come to the end of it. Is like, will you, Patrick, read volumes 3 and 4? Will you go out of your way to read them?
Will I go out of my... I don't know if I'll go out of my way. Like, if I see it, if I have a chance to pick them up, I will pick them up because the story is interesting. It's just you got to come at it knowing that there's more work to reading these than just sitting down and like reading a superhero comic, which is fine. I'm up for it. I didn't realize the task put before me when this was selected.
I tried to tell you, Pat, when we were at C2E2. I tried to tell you.
I mean, you told me the different covers were different because they did weird things with like issues being numbered differently. I didn't realize the inside the issues themselves, everything was jumbled.
Yeah. For such a simple guy like myself who, likes NASCAR and watching cars drive in circles, this took a lot of work, even for me.
It's a lot of left turns in this book.
There's not many left turns going on. It's not. There's a lot of direction.
I do think if I had to choose between which I like more, Volume 1 or Volume 2, I think I like Volume 1 more.
Oh, you're wrong, though.
Yeah, I thought long and hard about which one would be a better one to do. But I think this one just has better heart and more.
There's more substance for sure in Volume 2 than in Volume 1. But some of like the lines in Volume 1 and like it's a more stereotypical story.
It is much more straightforward. Yeah.
As a first time reader, it's the thing that I was, I guess, more comfortable with. And I think if and when I go back to reread this when I pick up the next volumes, because I'm going to have to reread this, I think I'll enjoy it more.
I would agree, actually. I think my second read of it was much better than my first read of it, even though I enjoyed both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the second read made a lot more sense. The first read was so jumbled. And like I said earlier, too, it was so... The time span between them when I was reading them back then just was stupid. Because they were so out of whack and there were so many delays that even then it was almost you were like, okay, finally I got it. And then you'd read it and so much of it was set up, you were kind of like, oh, really? Okay, well, I guess I'll wait for the next one. But when you read them all together back to back to back like this, it makes a lot more sense.
Which is partially why, Pat, when we were at C2E2 last month, I told you I was trying to find the omnibus of it. Like, there's a big omnibus that has all 4 volumes in one, and we couldn't track it down, so I ended up buying them all separately. But like that's part of why I would buy the omnibus for this, because it is one complete story that when you read it front to back, it pays off really well, because there's a lot of stuff like set up in 1 and 2 that pays off in 3 and 4,
Sure.
and so on.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I certainly have a much more like. I knew nothing about Hawkeye. I liked the character in the movie, like he's a cool dude, but knew nothing. And now I know he's a cool dude. Just a normal guy trying to live his life who has Blade Runner on Laserdisc. So,
Yeah.
how do you not like that guy?
Well, and that too, like when Matt, you said that you were surprised we weren't doing a Ghost Rider comic. When I started reading Hawkeye comics, it was after the movies too, like, you know, somewhat guilty of the movies influencing a lot of the stuff that I've read since they came out. And Hawkeye just being that everyman, like, to me, it's like, yeah, this is a character that I'm a lot like, because I overthink things all the time and I'm terrible at things. And, you know, like, well, but everyone says I'm a good guy, but you can't buy into it. And everybody has that, you know, moment in time in life where I think it just connects a lot more than some of the big time heroes where you're like, okay, I'm never going to be Iron Man.
You probably
no
haven't
goddamn way.
diffused a god bomb before, right?
Yeah, no, I've never, flown through space on goats, and
You should try it sometime.
yeah,
It's
I've
pretty
crashed
fun.
on a motorcycle. I've done that.
There you go.
So, but yeah, it's just that everyman character where the movies, in my opinion, don't do like the greatest representation of it until Ultron, kind of. They kind of make him out for this work all the time guy and not say much, and then all of a sudden he's got a family and kids, and it's really weird.
Yeah,
but like just this comic and the way it sets him up as just your everyday guy who is living with these decisions he makes, I don't know, is really cool. I think it kind of harks back to, like you were saying in the last episode, and with Seconds, how it just fit into what everybody does now in life. Like we're all going through the same stuff, only there's no skeletons and stuff walking around.
Yeah, we aren't very good at firing bows and arrows either.
I don't know. I did really good at the Ren Fair last year. So
oh, nice. Hey.
Yeah. After the person at the range was like, "You're holding the bow or the arrow in the wrong spot." To be fair, I had been drinking.
All right, guys. So which of my recommendations do you want first?
What are our options?
Your options are, if you like Kate, if you like Clint, if you like the Fraction Aja team, and then if you like the funnier stuff that Fraction does in here and some of the more
What
experimental
if I like
stuff.
Pizza Dog?
I don't know what to tell you, man. I guess we three.
I was gonna say we three.
We're just going back to we three. This is all just you guys shamelessly
really
plugging
just
your favorite comics.
12-episode podcast.
Frank Whiteley. Grant Morrison. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I want to know more about Kate. What do I do?
If you want to know more about Kate, first you should probably finish this series, and you should especially read Volume 3, because Volume 3 is all Kate, and it's great.
No, okay, wait. Question. You had a blog post about a Kate Bishop series, correct?
So that happens after this series finishes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Is that backstory? Yeah. But no, it's after this. Okay.
So I would read that too. That's Kelly Thompson's Hawkeye series that stars Kate Bishop, and she's in LA and trying to set up her own PI firm, basically, and it's really good.
Yes. Yeah.
I've read all of the volumes of that, I think.
It's very, very good.
And I think that has Madame Mask in it again, too, but I'm not sure. Good. I might be misremembering that. Also, I would probably have you read the Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey Young Avengers, because Kate's in that, and she's maybe a little bit more in the background than some of the other characters in there, but they're all good. Like, if you like Kate, you will like all the other characters in that series, most likely.
Is that the team that I saw in Volume 1 at the end? With Quicksilver?
Yes. It's a later iteration of that team to where it's got a couple other people on it. So that's the Kate stuff.
Okay.
If you like Clint, I don't actually have a lot. Which, like, maybe Tyler, you have more. The only thing I could think of is there's a New Avengers, the Reunion miniseries, where it's Clint teaming up with Mockingbird, who's in this, his ex-wife. And it's like right after she's basically come back from having been captured by Skrulls / dead.
Yeah.
What is Mockingbird's powers?
She doesn't really have any. She's a real good secret agent.
Oh, okay, so she's a Black Widow. Mark
Yeah,
II?
I think she eventually gets like enhanced human powers, but I don't think she has any at that time.
Yeah, I would say if you like Clint, there's actually Hawkeye versus Deadpool that came out that has the humor of this, but it's based in this world. So it's kind of weird because Hawkeye still like owns the apartment building, and it starts on Halloween, and it's like these people dress up as, heroes, and they're bad guys, and it's a whole big weird world. But it's Clint finally being like the voice of reason.
Yeah, nice.
That's nonsense, actually.
Yeah, no, it is. But yeah, it's based in this little world, and Deadpool's along for the ride, and they don't really fight. Why they call it a versus thing, I don't know. But
that's just what you do when you're a
101.
Marvel miniseries.
Yeah. So that one was kind of fun. It's not groundbreaking or life changing, but it is entertaining.
Cool. I would check that out. Oh, so
Invincible
then
Iron Man. I'm sorry, I was doing mine real quick. Invincible Iron Man and Sex Criminals. Okay, go ahead.
no, I mean Sex Criminals was going to be my last one, so you can tag off of that maybe.
Hey!
So if you like the Fraction Aja team, I would have you read Immortal Iron Fist because it's very good. It's not that different. It's just less experimental, and I think part of that is I think that's Matt Fraction's first Marvel book. He's co-writing with Ed Brubaker at the start of it, I know for sure. But it's good. It's less experimental and funny than this, but it's also clever, and it also has good bits here and there, like good humorous bits. So it's more kung fu movie than 70s detective story, but if you're into kung fu movies and you like this team, you'll like it.
Cool.
And then if you're looking for something that's like the extrapolation of this to non-superhero stuff, I would recommend Sex Criminals to you because it's probably one of my favorite books going right now.
First 2 issues were pretty fun.
Has it been going this long? Because that came out a long time ago.
It has delays. Turns out that's a Matt Fraction trend.
Yeah, okay.
The next volume is supposed to be the last volume, but it hasn't started yet, and it's been a bit since volume 5 came out. I think that was like November of last year the collected edition came out. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Nice.
My secret hope for that series is that they do volume 6 and then somehow they just skip ahead and do volume 9 so that when you have it collected on your shelf, it goes 69. Yeah.
Of course.
That's what
It
I want.
has to. It has to at this point. I know the gist of the book. I've never read it, but like that would be.
It would be a very that book joke.
Yeah. It's, correct me if I'm wrong, but the plot is these characters, when they orgasm, time stops, and they use that to do crimes.
Mm-hmm. That's the start of it, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's good.
Yeah.
Tyler, did you have any other recommendations while we're on the topic?
Yeah, so not really with the writer and everything, because I haven't read anything else other than this. But if you like this kind of styling, like the art style and all that, Jason Aaron's run on Doctor Strange that came out recently is fantastic. I love anything Jason Aaron, and I'm sure the next time I'm a guest host,
it'll be a Jason
I'm going to pick a Jason Aaron book because he is great. But his End of Magic run with Doctor Strange is highly, highly entertaining. Stylized somewhat like this, just to the umpteenth degree. It blows everything out of the water. It's crazy. For just pure entertainment value, the last Ant-Man run was really good that Marvel had from a few years ago. Check that out. And the ongoing Thor series that's still running. I've fallen out of it, but if you start from the top till now, it doesn't disappoint.
I think that actually wraps up like with the current Marvel event series that's going on. I think that's it for that run, which is that's like 7 years or something, probably, right?
I'd say that it was what, 2012 that started.
That's not all the same writer, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not the same artist throughout, obviously, but yeah, Jason Aaron's been writing that for that's 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It's nuts. That's really good. So that would be what I would suggest right now. Oh, and I mean, I could go on. Like Moon Knight, the last Moon Knight run was really good. Just give me a bunch of obscure Marvel.
That's the guy in the white hood, right?
Yeah.
That
Cool.
one was that one was kind of Hawkeye-esque in the art sense, and also keeping up with what's going on. So if you like being confused about comics,
Read some
Boy,
more.
howdy doing.
Moon Knight. That's the Moon Knight run. You should check that one out.
Sweet.
All right.
Well, great.
And continue reading Hawkeye.
Of course. Well, thanks for joining us, Tyler. It's been a blast.
It has been a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys invited me on.
I'm glad you recommended this because honestly, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. So this new confusion in my life is due to you, and I have to thank you.
I'm glad I could complicate matters more.
Of course. Now, if people wanted to find you online, I hear tell that you do some streaming. Is that true?
Yeah, so you can find me on twitch.tv/mbracer777, and I play games. Not well. It even says it in my bio. I'm okay at games.
What do you typically play for the people at home so they can have an idea of what they're going to be watching?
So lately it's been Rocket League, but I do Overwatch, Rocket League, a couple of racing games, and then some old school Sonic stuff. So
I didn't know you did Sonic stuff. That's pretty cool.
yeah, I'm not like a speedrunner or anything. I just enjoy Sonic, so I like playing it. But I also just started a new Skyrim campaign, so that's kind of the running thing right now. And
Nice.
I have Marvel Ultimate Alliance that I do.
Are you excited for the new one to come out? Oh my god.
I am. I'm very excited. And if I ever make enough money on that Twitch stream by people downloading this and then going to my channel and donating, I can afford to buy it and also get a third laptop or first laptop, third computer to hook up to my TV so I can stream my Nintendo Switch, because streaming a Nintendo Switch is absurdly
Complicated?
Yeah.
Oof. I'd be tempted to pick up a Switch and that game if Doctor Strange can turn people into boxes. That's the only thing I want. And if it doesn't have that, I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to bring that power back.
I want it. I want it so bad.
Should I email the game developers for you, Pat? Should I track them down?
Keep the boxes.
Boxes are bust.
Yeah, boxes are bust. I like it. Yes.
They can also find me on Twitter at @DaRealMarifke, DA_real_Marifke, MARIFKE, and Facebook, MBRacer777 on Twitch. That's the Facebook name.
Sweet. As always, if you want to get in touch with Pat or myself, you can find us on Twitter as @TheHypnoToad, which is spelled in the most confusing way possible, and @MattLedge. You can also email us at waitingonthetrade@gmail.com and read more comics-related goodness at mattreadscomics.com.
If this is the outro, I just got to say real quick, for the amount of times bro is used in that comic, we didn't use it once.
I didn't want to bring it up because that's one of my negatives for this is like I got real tired of bro.
Oh, but you're supposed to. That's part of the
point.
Once again, Matt Fraction wanted me confused and pissed at bro, so he won both times. So good for you, Matt.
And
Good
look
for
at that.
you.
You want to talk about time jumps? We thought it was over, and here we are talking about it again. Oh, God. Quick, fade to black.
Well, bro, thanks again, bro, for coming on to talk Hawkeye with us.
No.
Yeah, no problem, bro. It's been a lot of fun, bro.
The next one is going to be us talking about My Love Story Volume 1 with guest host Callum Smith, which I'm pretty excited for, actually.
Is it the manga? Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
Which I've been
That is
told
exciting.
is the greatest story, quote unquote, by Cal. So we'll see if it lives up to the hype.
Thanks again, Tyler.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.